earned through their hard work. Enough with the lying and the gaslighting. This is not about making government more efficient for working people. The Republican plan is about making government more efficient for big corporations and billionaires who are screwing us over. We don't need to cut Social Security. We can expand it. We don't need to cut people's health care. We can expand it. We can have a country that is better off for small business owners and for workers alike if we just tax the billionaires instead of funding the billionaires. Today, Republicans here in the House will try to pass this billionaire budget resolution. There's some, it's terrible. They're going to try to talk about their complicated math or legalese, but what's going on for the everyday person is really simple. And so I want the folks watching at home to know that what House Republicans are trying to pass today is to steal from seniors, steal from children, steal from veterans, all to pay for tax cuts for the ultra-rich. That's what it is. They want to end Medicaid as we know it just to pay for tax breaks for guys like Elon Musk. The bottom line is their plan is billionaires get richer, everybody else gets screwed. Now, they think they've got a lot going for them. They've got the money. They've got the big corporations. They have the White House and the Republicans in Congress. But I don't really like their odds because House Republicans and billionaires are picking a fight with working Americans. And in a democracy, the people win. 8 years ago, when extreme Republicans had the White House and both the House and the Senate, they had the money. They had their plan to take health care away from millions of Americans and end the Affordable Care Act. But the American people won and those House Republicans lost. And we're right back in the same situation. Because today something is happening in America. Americans are rising up to say we want a government by and for the people, not by and for the billionaires. You see it in protests and marches and at Republican town halls all across the country. I can promise you, even though when the press go and ask some of these Republicans whether they're worried about what they're seeing at their town halls, whether they're worried about those protests, they have to lie through their teeth when they say they're not worried because we hear them in the hallway worried. They're worried because they know that they have a choice. They can either be representatives of their districts or they can act like Trump Musk employees. They have that choice. And they know that if they keep acting as Trump Musk employees, that the people in their district are going to demand a representative. And that puts them in a tight spot. And while the Republicans say they have a majority, they're not telling the full truth there. It's a very thin majority. And if just 3 House Republicans choose to act as representatives of their districts rather than Trump organization employees, then we can block this billionaire tax ripoff, protect working families, save our health care as we know it. Just 3 Republicans who will say, no, we're not going to kick people off of their health care to pay Elon Musk even more money. To get there, we're going to need to share stories like the ones you will hear today, and we will need coalitions like this one to educate and organize people across the country. In Washington, we Democratic leaders need to step up because courage inspires courage. And so I know that I and my colleagues here today are ready to go to the mat and fight all the way until we stop this budget and finally demand that instead of a tax break for greedy billionaires, that we actually tax those greedy billionaires and expand the programs that working people deserve. Thank you all so much for being here. And now I want to turn it over to our champion on the Senate side. He is the ranking member of the Senate Budget Committee. He is a progressive hero for us, and we're so proud to be joined by Senator Jeff Merkley.
Great Kassar. When we fight, we win. When we fight,
we win.
When we fight,
we win.
When we fight,
we win.
All right. Well, we are definitely fighting. That's Great Kassar of the 35th District of Texas. Thank you so much for your progressive leadership. So the Republicans in the Senate, as well as the House, have a very simple plan. Families lose, billionaires win.
That ain't right.
Do we like their plan?
No.
How about a plan where families win and billionaires lose?
Yeah.
You know, at least billionaires pay their fair share of taxes, which they're not.
Yeah.
So here we over on the Senate side, and we're hearing that, Trump wants a big, beautiful bill. But I have a question for everyone. Is there anything beautiful about cutting health care for millions of American families? No. Is there anything beautiful about cutting SNAP nutritional payments for millions of families? No. Anything beautiful about cutting medical research across this country to cure the diseases that we want to cure? No. Anything at all beautiful about the Republican plan? No. So over on the Senate side, we had a whole series of amendments last week. We went clear through the night doing amendments. In the morning, we were finishing up about 5:30 a.m. I went straight to the airport. Through the night, Democrats put forward a whole series of amendments. And these amendments were things like, let's protect Medicaid. And Republicans said no. Democrats said yes. And we said, let's protect SNAP. And Democrats said yes. And Republicans said no. Every single time, every single amendment about protecting families, Democrats said yes. And Republicans said no. And so this is a very simple proposition about the future of America. Are we going to have a vision of government of, by, and for the people? I think there's something in our Constitution that envisions that type of government instead of the Republican plan, which is government by and for the billionaires. So we say no to this corruption of America. And we say no to President Trump breaking the law day after day after day. And we say no to the president impounding money day after day that is unconstitutional. I found this weekend when I held town halls, we had some 5,000 people show up in person. And people are rising up because they know the very heart of our republic is at risk. When you have a majority in the House and Senate that are acquiescing in the president breaking the law and breaking the Constitution, then we are losing the vision of democracy, the separation of powers, the checks and balances. But today we have a chance to fight back. Today there is a battle on the floor of the House of Representatives, and this is a battle both about protecting families and having billionaires pay their fair share, but it's also a battle about saving our republic and the separation of powers. Are we going to save our republic?
Yes!
And so we are in the fight. Americans are in the fight. They're taking to the streets. We have a combination of power here and power on the street, power inside, power outside. We're going to bring all that power together, and we are going to restore government by and for the people. Thank you all very much.
People power, people power, people power, people power.
People power, people power. Good morning. My name is Juanita Lewis, and I'm here representing People's Action Institute and my New York-based organization, Community Voices Heard. CVH is one of 39 power-building organizations in 29 states that make up the People's Action Institute family. Our members are from 59 congressional districts that took time out of their busy and precarious lives to come here today from all over the country to meet with their representatives this week. Today we're here because in the building right behind us, the politicians doing the dirty work for these billionaires and big corporations are going at it right now. Today they plan to vote to take away health care from sick people. They plan to vote to take away food from hungry people. And they plan to vote to take education away from children. Damn right. And they're taking our money so they can give it to billionaires and corporations. Elon Musk is one of the 3 people who together have more wealth than 160 million people. And they are demanding that Congress vote today to give them even more. So right now, this isn't an issue about left versus right. It's about top versus bottom. People in red districts rely on Medicaid. People in blue districts rely on Medicaid. Everyone of every race from every place needs care when they are sick and when the richest people in the world are demanding cuts from almost $1 trillion to Medicaid so they can have a 6th mansion and a 3rd yacht. They're coming for every single working family. So no matter who you voted for, we have a lot on the line. So today's message is simple and it's clear. Make billionaires pay what they owe. Yes. The greedy billionaires that are here, that are trying to take over and take things away from us, they're wondering what we're here today. And so today's press conference is to tell them what we're here to do. So I am honored to now turn over to Senator Chris Murphy, a Democratic senator from Connecticut.
I think billionaires should pay a little bit of taxes, don't you? I mean, listen, this whole thing is a fraud, right? It's a con. It's a grift, right? From the very start, the Trump administration has been about one thing and one thing only: stealing from all of us, stealing from regular people, stealing from poor people, stealing from the middle class in order to enrich their billionaire Mar-a-Lago cabal. And we're not going to let them do it, right? We're not going to let them do it. Listen, what is happening inside this building right now is an abomination, right? An abomination. You are talking about the most massive transfer of wealth and resources from poor people and the middle class to the billionaires and corporations in the history of this country, right? You're talking about $880 billion of cuts to Medicaid. Now, I get it, like $880 billion, like what does that mean, right? That's a huge number. Nobody understands. Let me tell you what that means. That means that sick kids die in this country. That means that hospitals in depressed communities and rural communities close their doors, right? That means that drug and addiction treatment centers disappear all across this country. That means that millions of working families who have insurance today, because, by the way, 24% of Americans get their health care from Medicaid, they all of a sudden don't have their health care tomorrow. And for what? And for what? Because Elon Musk needs another $1 billion? I mean, I have no idea what I would do with $1 billion, right? I have no idea what I would do with $1 billion. Never mind $2 billion or $3 billion or $4 billion. The scope of this greed is something that we have never, ever seen before in this country, and we should not accept it as normal in the United States of America. So let me just make one more point. The destruction of our democracy is part of this story, right? And we need to tell this to people. This is super unpopular, what they are doing. Nobody wants this. Nobody wants their health care to disappear, their hospital to close, so that Elon Musk can pocket a little bit more money. Nobody wants that. So how do you get away with it? You try to destroy our democracy. You try to crush dissent. You threaten members of Congress with arrest. You shut down TV and radio stations that dare to tell the truth. You endorse political violence, right? So we need to make sure that we tell this full story. And the full story is pretty simple. It's the handover of our government to the billionaires, made possible by the destruction of democracy so that the people can't rise up and contest it. And none of that is going to happen if we have anything to do with it here in the United States Congress, all right? So listen, thank you so much for being here. These millionaires and billionaires and corporations, they got a lot of money and they got a lot of lobbyists, right? But regular people have lobbyists too. That's right. Right? And it's all of you, right? We have, right. AOC says it's better than anybody else, but we still have more people than they have, right? Right? We still have more power. We still have more votes. And by showing up here every single day, you prove that. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it.
Doesn't it feel good to have elected officials that are on the right side of history and doing the right stuff? So thank you. So, of course, we want to keep working with amazing elected officials, but we also have other allies that we're here with today that helped us launch this big initiative. And so I'm proud to be working with other folks here. And I would like to introduce Lisa Tierney with the New Jersey Resource Project and Kate Lujan Redling with the People's Lobby in Illinois.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Tierney, and I'm with the Not One More campaign to end overdose in New Jersey. This is my friend Sasha. She died waiting for a detox bed.
That ain't right.
She just got into college and left my apartment in the morning. I was supposed to drive her to detox the next day, but she got a call saying she couldn't come until Saturday. Her last text to me was, "What am I going to do? I'm freaking out." It took the morgue a week to identify her body. This was a scholarship, so she didn't have insurance. I relive that day a lot and always think, what if she had Medicaid? Would she still be alive today? They like to paint a picture of someone on Medicaid as someone who is lazy and unwilling to work, when the truth is life is unpredictable, life is hard. One second I was working for the NFL, living in a townhouse with my boy and girl twins and my bulldog Taco, and my abusive husband. From the outside, it looked like my life was perfect, but on the inside, I was living in hell. The next decade, I spent in and out of treatment centers. Everything was in my husband's name, the house, the car, and I was on his insurance plan. That's the last thing he took from me. He kicked me off our insurance plan without giving me a heads up. Medicaid afforded me the opportunity to get on life-saving medication. I only needed to be on it for over a year, and don't worry, they kicked me off the minute I made enough to get my head above water. I am asking, begging, please protect these programs for people like Sasha and me. When my daughter was 9 years old, a boy a few years older than her told her that I was a drug addict. When I explained what substance use was, she said, I said to her, she said, why would anyone be mean to someone with a disease? I then told her that some people can't get treatment because they don't have insurance. So she decided to start a campaign and design wristbands that say worth saving and use the funds to scholarship people to detox. If you explain anything to a child, they will give you a pure, honest answer, and it's usually the right answer. Imagine explaining to children they are going to take away doctors and medicine for people who can't afford it. And when they get sick or hurt, no one is going to be there to help them. And instead, we are going to make sure billionaires and corporations don't have to pay the money they owe. They would say, that's not fair. Why would anyone do that? If your vote is going to result in someone dying or losing their home, vote no. Taxing the very wealthy in this country isn't going to result in them dying or missing a meal. They live in their gated communities, fly their private jets, have security teams, and are building underground bunkers. They don't want to interact with us, let alone share the wealth. If it was going to trickle down, it would have already. Every single person who is going to die because of these cuts is worth saving. We need to start talking to people who don't look like us and don't think like us, because we all have something in common. We're being screwed over by policymakers who pledge their allegiance to billionaires and corporations. They don't want us to be organized. They don't want us to demand the resources we need to survive and thrive. But if we organize, we win. It's not the left versus the right. It's us versus the top.
That's right.
I hope the history books say, and then they united, and they rose up and fought for what was right, and they won. Thank you.
When we fight, we win. When we fight,
We win!
when we fight,
We win!
when we fight,
We win! Good morning. I'm Kate Lujan Redling, board chair of the People's Lobby in Chicago, and a proud fighter with People's Action's Care Over Cost campaign. Thank you, Alyssa, for sharing your story. It's so important to put faces and names to the staggering number of people who will be hurt by the drastic cuts that Musk and Trump are planning. Today, I'm here from Illinois with folks from all over the country because we hear Trump say that he won't cut Social Security and Medicaid, but we see the writing on the wall. Republicans are poised to cut $880 billion from Medicaid.
that ain't right.
And that's not all. These cuts are designed to funnel our tax dollars out of programs that our communities need and are into private corporations run by millionaires and billionaires. They're doing this in the form of tax breaks. You just heard from Alyssa about the critical role that Medicaid has played in her life and in the lives of so many others. If Medicaid is cut, literally millions of Americans will lose their health care. That in and of itself is an act of violence. But if you think you won't be impacted, consider what the ER waiting rooms will look like when the people who were covered by Medicaid now no longer have access to routine care, when funding for public hospitals and clinics are cut. What do you do then when your kid has a life-threatening allergic reaction,
I am a mom of 4 boys, and I've spent more than my fair share of time in emergency rooms, and they are already at capacity. We have a choice now. We can all get the care that we need, or none of us can. We built this country into the richest country in the world with blood and sweat and tears, built with grit, determination, diversity, and innovation. Look around. There is still enough money and resources here for all of us. Yes. And yet, while billionaires and their cronies line their pockets, our communities are left to pick up the pieces and fight for scraps. They're stealing our money and handing it over to the ultra-rich, all while everyday Americans are forced to choose between their insulin and a carton of eggs. Friday, the U.S. Department of Justice launched a civil fraud investigation into United Health Group over medical billing practices. This isn't just another corporate scandal. It's a stark reminder that these profit-driven giants are willing to gamble with human lives just so that their so-called Medicare Advantage plans, which affect 7.8 million seniors, they are built on schemes that inflate diagnoses for extra payments. Every fraudulent dollar that they pocket is another nail in the coffin of our health care. For-profit health care costs lives. Every time a policy decision prioritizes profit over patients, a family is left to battle skyrocketing medical bills, and someone's life is put at risk. I'm calling on each and every one of us, whether you're fighting for your own health or the health of your neighbor, to join us, stand up, speak out, and fight back against a system that values money over lives. Enough is enough. It is time to take our money back, take our lives back, and build a system that cares for us all. Tell your congressperson to vote no and block this potential budget. It is a vote on the budget. Thank you.
Whose house? Our house. Whose house? Our house. Whose house? Our house. Whose house?
Our house. Thank you, Kate and Alyssa, for those moving stories and important stories and reminders of why we're here today. And so now I'm going to turn it over to my former congressional member, Representative Ilhan Omar from the 5th Congressional District of Minnesota.
We are here today because we are witnessing a crisis in our democracy, a crisis in our budget, a crisis in our Constitution. And during a crisis, you have 2 options, whether to fight or flight. And we are in a fight for our families, a fight for our future. While working people are struggling to afford prescription drugs, while hospitals in rural communities are closing, while millions of Americans are choosing between rent and medical bills, billionaires are getting tax cuts.
That ain't right.
Corporations are raking in record profits while the most vulnerable among us are being left behind. Republicans want to hand out another $4.6 trillion in tax breaks to billionaires and foreign corporations, while at the same time stripping funding from life-saving research, gutting the Affordable Care Act, and slashing nearly $9 billion in federal funding for Medicaid.
That ain't right.
Republicans are literally going to gut the insurance program that covers millions of children and seniors. This will mean rural hospitals will close, nursing homes will shut down, addiction treatment centers will close their doors, and the most vulnerable will die because of the Republican budget. And let's not forget, under Elon Musk and his so-called Department of Government Efficiency, federal health agencies have suffered mass layoffs and vital research funding has been frozen. In my home state of Minnesota, $150 million meant for groundbreaking medical research on cancer and rare diseases is at risk. Universities that should be leading the charge in innovation are being forced to halt critical studies. And who suffers? The American people. They want you to believe that there is just not enough money to go around, that we can't afford to expand healthcare, that we can't afford to fund research, that we can't afford to make sure every American has the care they deserve. But let's tell the truth. We can afford it. Yes. We can afford universal health care. Yes. We can afford life-saving treatment. Yes. We can afford to fund the research that will cure diseases for generations to come. Yes. What we can't afford is more handouts to billionaires and foreign corporations. So I say this, tax the greedy billionaires. Yes. Tax them so that no parent has to choose between groceries and a doctor's visit. Yes. Tax them so our hospitals can stay open, our research can continue, and our communities can thrive. Yes. Here's our message to Speaker Johnson and President Musk. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. We demand an economy that works for all of us, not just the wealthy few. Yes. We demand health care as a human right, not as a privilege. Yeah. The billionaire class might have their lobbies, but the American people have us. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. More power to the people.
Thanks. So now I'll have Alfredo Reyes from Texas with Vocal Texas and People's Action.
Hello and good morning, everyone. I am going to make it real nice. This is my life story, and let me explain to you about me. I was unhoused, living in the street, dealing with cancer. I'm a U.S. veteran, and everybody has turned their back on me. The one thing that I got rehoused through the rapid rehousing program in Austin, Texas, and not just that, but the ARPA money is no longer available. Now, one of the things that I keep on saying to myself is the communities out there are suffering and they're struggling, they're dying. In reality, that's not right. We're human beings. We're not animals. And the one thing I can tell you is that we need to make sure we stop these billionaires from making and profiting off of us and making sure that they pay their taxes and pay their equal share. Because reality is, their fair share, I'm sorry. Because reality is, we're dying out here. We need to make sure the money goes through housing, and making sure the service providers get money and funding, and making sure they get a good living wage. Because reality is, where's the money going? Reality is, we're not making it. We're paying them to be rich. And the reality is we're tired of it, and enough is enough. We need to make sure the billionaires pay their fair share and making sure it goes to where it belongs, which is the community. Because the reality is the community needs that fund more than anything. I am scared right now because the reality is I'm in the rapid rehousing program. After the end of this year, I might end up back in the street. That ain't right. That's not right. And the one thing I can tell you is that the Housing First does work. And let me explain to you right. I'm living proof of it. Since then, I was homeless for 7.5 years. Since then, I now have a place to stay. I have a job. I'm a Vocal Texas organizer. I'm proud of it. And not just that, but I'm also now go to therapy. I get the services that I need. I get all this. I'm bettering myself, and I'm becoming a good abiding citizen. And I think that we all deserve that, and we all should have that equally. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
We love you, Alfredo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alfredo. So now I will have Representative Becca Balance. Thank you. Balance. Thank you. I had it in parentheses and everything. Who represents Vermont at an at-large congressional district. Thank you.
All right, Vermont's in the house. All right, look, 71% of Americans think that the system is rigged. Are they wrong? No, they are not. They are not wrong. Wealth created by millions and millions of Americans are benefiting who? The rich. The rich, that's right. And working people, as you know, are suffering the consequences. The reality is, People can't afford insulin.
That ain't right.
People can't afford groceries.
That ain't right.
They can't find housing.
That ain't right.
And the strain on them we see every single day. Vermonters and Americans across this country are feeling the crushing weight of this. Now, so look, we need more housing. We need to lower rents. Yes. Is it right that corporations should get more money while people are literally sleeping in the streets or under a tree? Is that right?
No.
That's why we're here today. That is why we're here today. Let's draw a stark contrast. Let's talk about what really is happening in this building at the hands of Republicans who have the House, the Senate, and the White House. This budget is their budget. It is their budget, and they're going to own it. They're trying to cut Medicaid funding. They're trying to cut SNAP benefits. They're trying to take out all the programs that support working families across this country. That's the reality. Don't let them do a sleight of hand here. Do not let them get away with it. So look, we have to stand with working people across this country. And I am so excited to be out here with all of you today because I loved what you said earlier. You said, worthy of saving? What was that? Worth saving. Worth saving. Who are those people in your community? Worth saving. Who are those exactly, everybody. Who are those organizations in your community worth saving? All of them. All of them. So look, I know this is a hard moment. I know it is. A lot of people have said they feel scared. They feel overwhelmed. They don't know where to put their energy. You're doing exactly the right thing today. You're out here demanding justice, demanding answers from your government. That is absolutely what we all need to be doing. And those of us in Congress, we are using our voices at every possible opportunity. We are legislating, we are litigating, and we are agitating. That is what we are doing. Everyone in this country deserves a fair shot. And the Republicans are not thinking about regular people. Ever. It's about who's at the top, who can we give more money to, while the rest of us are scrapping around for every little bit that we can get.
That ain't right.
It's not right. It's not right. So look, they're trying to flood the zone every single day. Do not take your eye off the ball. And the ball is always the money. Who has the money? Who's getting the money? Who's getting more money? And how are the rest of us being screwed? Thanks for being out here today. Thanks for using your voices.
We got some real champions fighting right now. We got some real champions fighting right now, right? So we know we still got some work to do. So I'm going to call up here Dr. Majadi from Push Buffalo to share a little bit with us.
Thank you. Greetings. I am Dr. Majadi Baruti from Buffalo, New York. I am here because the climate crisis lives in my home. It is my fiancée. She is a victim, and that's what it is, a victim of 3 different climate crises. Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Rita, and then a couple of years later, floods in Tennessee. These could have been prevented if these fossil fuel companies had been reined in years ago. We have lost homes, our family structures, community structures, community wealth. All the while, oil, gas, and coal billionaires are stealing from us. It is utter and absolute theft. If I were to steal something with this black body, they would put me under the jail. If I made it to the damn jail. In Buffalo, New York, we have some of the oldest housing in this country. My home was built in 1920. Because of our weak home structure, Our energy burden is absurdly high. National Fuel Gas, I'm going to call their name out. I call them the behemoth. National Fuel Gas, a fossil fuel company, just raised our rates again. So now I am considering cutting back on things that are called the good things in life, things I deserve. In fact, I was going to take my son to see this Captain America movie, but I'm going to have to rearrange that a little bit here. My woman, she's a Creole woman, Southwest Louisiana, so she kind of fancy. She likes flowery dresses, good food. I'm talking about flowery dresses, baby. And it looks funny in Buffalo, New York. But we had to celebrate, y'all call it Valentine's Day, we've switched the days and we call it Love Day. We had to celebrate it at the house because I had to pay this damn gas bill. Otherwise, we'd be cold. My community organization, Push Buffalo, won an EPA grant that would help create good jobs and weatherized homes in upstate New York. And now that is being held up by these monsters, these demons, these devils, these wicked and diabolical people who are harming humankind and harming this planet. This is the only one we got. Mama didn't give us no other one. There are millions of us who need these programs that you've heard spoken to thrive. And at the same time, the richest 3 men in this country have more money than the bottom half of us. And they're trying to take even more. They're trying to squeeze the proverbial blood from a turnip. Congress is voting. They'll be moving today to discuss this. This is the first step of a plan to take form and to take from everyday people and to give it to billionaires like Elon Musk. So we're going to have to do something that we have not done before. We're going to have to be together. I mean, really together. This has to be a full-on rainbow coalition for real. For real, not for play. We have to act as working people and remember that it was working people and the enslaved who built this country. So for me, personally, as a priest, I look at this as a sacred work. My specific focus is on BIPOC women and children, those who are marginalized the most in this climate crisis. It's a crisis. It's not climate change. Y'all got to stop saying climate change. We are in a crisis. We got hurricanes going up mountains. So, to close out, we need you to contact Congress right now. When? Now. Right now. And tell them to stop these fools.
Thank you so much, Dr. Majadi. So now I'm going to turn it over because we still got some more fighting to do. What did you say? They were diabolical, wicked demons. We got some folks that got to fight those demons. And one of those people is Representative Chuy Garcia, representing the Illinois 4th Congressional District.
Thank you, and I'm very proud to stand with each and every one of you, pushing back and unveiling the great tax scam that they are preparing to give to the richest people in our country. That ain't right. This has been done before. That will be even worse if we let it happen. Let's recall what they did in 2017, the first Trump MAGA tax scam. They gave massive tax breaks to the 1%, added $2 trillion to the deficit, and they stole from Social Security, Medicare, which is what they want to do once again, and it never trickled down because it never trickles down when they do that type of stuff. And since then, the wealth gap has only gotten bigger. Today, the richest Americans, not the 1%, the 0.1%, even fewer of them own 13% of all the wealth in our country. Meanwhile, the entire bottom half, over 170 million people in our country only own 2.5% of all the wealth. That ain't right, exactly. Big name corporations like Ford, Netflix, T-Mobile, many more pay their top executives more than they pay in taxes. This is the concentration of wealth. This is oligarchy. Take Maria, for example, who lives in my district. She cleans an office in residential buildings in places where she'll never be able to get an apartment. Or Mr. Johnson, who is now having to figure out whether he gets his medicine or pays his heating bill so that he doesn't freeze. That's what's on the line. Republicans want to permanently lower the amount of taxes that corporate giants and the wealthy pay. And they want to enact another round of tax breaks and freebies and giveaways. How will they do it? By forcing American people to slash Medicaid, ending food assistance and food stamps, taking away school lunches from our kids, and gutting retirement benefits. That ain't right. That ain't right. But what we've got to do is, oh, and let me add one more thing. Even undocumented immigrants pay in federal taxes only in 2022 $380 billion. Doesn't include state and local taxes as well. So we got to make sure that billionaires and corporations pay their fair share. We're not going to let them take it away from working people. We're not cutting lunches to kids, and we're not cutting lunches so that Jeff Bezos can buy another yacht. And we're not slashing Medicaid or Medicare so that Elon Musk can keep freeloading and trying to cut our federal workforce. Sisters and brothers, it's time to fight back. Let's expose them for what they're trying to do, and let's take back our country. Thank you.
We win. We win. Ooh, all right. We're gonna keep it rolling. So now I'd like to introduce Representative Rashida Tlaib, representing Michigan's 12th Congressional District.
Y'all, we're here to talk about corporate greed, which is a disease that is extracting and killing so many of our families. You know, I'm here with, I brought with me my friend Tamika Ramsey, who is coming here, and she comes in my office, she didn't even say hello. She says, Rashida, I'm a small business owner, and I'm paying more taxes than Amazon. And I said, I got an event for you. It looks like she's feeling a lot better, that she knows there's a lot of other people that agree with her that there needs to be a lot of justice and fairness. I'm also here with the Oil and Water Don't Mix Coalition in Michigan that has been fighting incredibly hard through the region to make sure that oil stays out of the Great Lakes. And when we say shut down Line 5, we are talking about saving lives. This is where over 20% of our water comes from, the Great Lakes, and they're sitting there allowing corporate greed to drive policies that put us in danger. That ain't right. We know as we speak, it's not millions, it's not billions, it's trillions of dollars in tax cuts, you know, for the rich. These tax cuts would only empower and enable the billionaires and the powerful corporations and corporate greed in our country. That's what it's going to do. It's going to enable them even more. They're never going to be checked on worker exploitation. They're never going to be checked on the fact that the children in my district still don't have clean drinking water. They're never going to be checked on the fact that they're polluting our communities in a way where I have a father with 6-year-old twins that has to put them in a breathing machine because literally they live in the shadows as one of the most awful corporate polluters in the state of Michigan. That ain't right. You know, the climate crisis, Doc, is a direct result of unchecked corporate greed. For decades, we know this, for decades, corporate polluters have poisoned our neighborhoods, putting profits over people's lives. We've seen it, and it's just the latest in the long line of loopholes and handouts for big oil executives to get richer while the rest of us get sicker. You know, a lot of our folks on the state level say, well, we have a public hearing about an air permit. But do you know what my residents call that state environmental agency? Permission to pollute agency. They're tired of it. And I know I'm tired, and so many of the corporate polluters raking in the record profits, while frontline communities like mine, in Detroit, and Dearborn, and Wayne County communities struggle to breathe clean air. And in order to pay for these tax cuts for the billionaires and CEOs, they want to rip health care away from millions of our families. Shame on them. Shame. I just want you to think about this. They're paying, the residents, the community is paying the toll, getting sicker, while we subsidize the fact that we have sick care in our country, the fact that many of our folks can't even afford to take care of themselves. So I want you all to know they're moving, of course, with these massive cuts to programs. And I talk about the $880 billion in cuts in Medicaid, but behind all those cuts is a person. It's not even saving organizations, it's saving lives. We're not powerless. I remind people I come from the most beautiful, blackest city in the country, city of Detroit. And I'll tell you, I was taught by the community mothers. It wasn't Congress who got us the Civil Rights Act. They didn't wake up one day and say, I think equality and fighting against housing is a good idea. It's we made them. We marched. We boycotted. We created resistance in the streets that made this institution behind me that isn't ready for people like us, right? We make them ready, and we make them move. It's the same thing with organizing unions. You think somebody in the White House woke up and said, wow, we need to make sure people have human dignity in the workplace? It's when people withheld their labor. So understand the power that you all have, and I'm so incredibly proud of you for being here. Know that I'll always have your back. I won't sell out. I'm standing with some of my colleagues, even in the Democratic caucus, as we try to move with urgency, even before this man became our president. I remember in those days of trying to understand why we always seem to have money for wars and bombs, but we don't seem to have money for clean air and clean water. And it has been courageous for many of the folks in the Oil and Water Don't Mix coalition. They're up here every single year fighting to say, protect the Great Lakes. Think about that. They're begging the institution that's supposed to be about people, not those that, again, extract and about corporate greed. So I want you to know I'm going to always have your back, and this is how we do it, through movements like this. And again, I love it when you're all out in front of some of my colleagues' places now in their district, because sometimes coming to D.C. is fine, but go to their backyard. They don't like that. Let's go to their backyard. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Representative Tlaib. So now I will turn it over to Gisero Zurita, that's representing One America and People's Institute.
Hello, everyone. My name is Glicerio Zurita, and I am a community organizer with One America in Washington State. Let me be clear. Immigrant, refugee, and asylee are not the enemy. We are workers, parents, students, and neighbors. We contribute every day to the country, but instead of recognizing that, billionaires and corporations are trying to turn us against each other. They use hateful rhetoric to divide our communities, while they steal the wealth created by our hard work. We see through their lives, and we refuse to be divided. The enemy isn't our immigrant neighbors or new arrivals. It's the billionaires and corporations who manipulate the system for their own benefit, getting tax breaks while cutting health care, education, and the programs our community rely on.
That ain't right.
They create these problems, and now they want to blame us. We demand they pay their fair share. This discrimination rhetoric isn't just hateful, it's racist. It targets our children, our elders, and our entire community. This kind of fear-based propaganda puts us in danger of violence. This kind of fear-based propaganda, we have seen it before. Immigrant raids, family separations, attacks on our people. Just last month, we have seen families torn apart and fear spreading where parents are afraid to send two children to school or leave their homes. I know this pain personally. My own family was detained. My wife was sent to Tacoma Detention Center because the 280G program, a program sold as security, but instead it caused devastation. I know the fear, the uncertainty, and the trauma that so many in our community are living. I refuse to let that continue. We will not be silent. Billionaires are funding politicians who spread lies, using fear to justify policies that hurt all working families. They don't care about the rising cost of living, about the wages that aren't enough to survive. They want us to fight each other and distract it, so we don't fight back. Immigrant, refugees, and asylees are the backbone of this country. That's right. We work in industries that keep the nation running: healthcare, agriculture, construction, education, and yet they try to strip away our rights and dignity. We won't stand on it. At One America, we are fighting back. Yeah. We are organizing and empowering our community to take action, ensuring dignity and respect for all. We are pushing the policies that protect and uplift our immigrant and refugee families and excluded workers so they can thrive and not just survive. Thank you, Representative from Villa Park, for founding our organization and to create all these spaces so all immigrants can be empowered and speak out the truth. We will resist hate, fight back against efforts to criminalize our communities, and hold those in power accountable. We will continue to build power because our communities deserve dignity, justice, and future free from fear. We will rise, we will fight, and we will win. Thank you.
All right.
We
win. We win. Whew. So now I'm going to turn it over to our final speaker, Representative Pramila Jayapal, representing Washington 7th Congressional District.
Hey everybody, it is so good to be with you. Glicerio, I am so proud to see you leading us as you always have with your story as an organizer. I founded that organization and I ran it for 10 years, and guess what? 15 years later, it is still going strong, organizing immigrants. And every one of you that is an organizer back home, I want to say thank you. Thank you for doing this work. I am an immigrant myself. I'm somebody who worked on this as an organizer on the outside, and now for the last 8 years on the inside. I'm still an organizer. And I am here to say that we refuse to let Donald Trump and his unelected billionaire buddy Elon Musk, who conveniently seems to have forgotten that he was an undocumented immigrant as well. I refuse to let them scapegoat and target immigrants. I want to be very clear about something. The only reason they keep doing this is because they want to distract you from the fact that they are stealing your taxpayer dollars, your benefits, your programs, so they can give a $4.5 trillion tax cut to the billionaires. They want you to blame immigrants. They want you to criminalize immigrants. We need to focus on the greedy billionaires and make them pay their fair share. We can't let them continue their lies and their distractions. We can't let them deport the millions of families across this country who have been doing the work that keeps our economy going every day. We can't let them scapegoat and criminalize immigrants who contribute, who are our neighbors, our friends, our churchgoers, our community around us that we deeply love. Immigrants are us. Immigrants are us, and we all deserve respect and dignity. If you look at the food that's on your table, think about who picked it. If you look at your homes, think about who built them. If you look at your vulnerable elders and your kids, think about who's taking care of them. Immigrants work in every single sector of the economy. And in 2022, immigrant households paid $579 billion in taxes. Billion with a B. And let me ask you something. Do you know how much Elon Musk's company paid in federal taxes? Zero! A big zero! That is unfair. And he personally, that's just for his company, he personally paid a tax rate of about 3.5%. 3.5% on his billions. That's less than the average American pays in taxes. So just make those greedy billionaires pay their fair share. That's all we're asking. Trump's mass deportation plans are not only going to devastate and separate families like Liserios and so many others all over again, they're going to hurt our economy. They're going to drive up the prices of food for average Americans. They're going to drive up the cost of construction. It's going to cost more than $1.5 trillion to actually deport everybody in this country. And on top of that, it's going to cost our economies over $5 trillion over a decade in higher prices in all the things that immigrants provide to our country. Now, Republicans have spent decades fighting the real reforms that we need to make our immigration system humane and fair. They've tried to make it seem like it's a choice between your safety and modernizing an immigration system that hasn't been modernized in 30 years. It is not a choice. We can invest in keeping everyone safe and secure by reforming and modernizing our immigration system so that it works for families across this country. So listen, don't get distracted. Anybody going to be distracted here? Don't get distracted. Let's make these greedy billionaires pay just a little bit more of their fair share. Let's push for humane immigration reform that protects immigrants, that protects Americans from Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and stop them from ripping away your benefits, your nursing homes, your health care, your nutrition benefits. Stop them from doing that because they're just going to take the money and give it to the wealthiest billionaires. No more breadcrumbs for working people. No more yachts for the richest in our country. Let's stop this disastrous betrayal Republican budget that rips us all off. Thank you all so much. We win. We win. We win. Questions? Okay, I think we're going to open it up for any questions that press has right now, if anybody has any. And if not, we are going to close it out so we can go and debate on the floor about this terrible Republican budget. Okay, thanks, everybody.
This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy